Hi everyone, I'm Brian Weiser and welcome to the A.P.P.L.E. presentation for KansasFest with all the exciting things we've been working on since last year. We're one of the oldest Apple user groups, started in 1978, and I'd like to go through a quick overview of our user group for those who might not be familiar with us before I review the products that I've produced with Bill Martens this year. He's the user group president. And our most common way of people discovering us is through our website at Call-A.P.P.L.E, where we have news and information on both the Apple II and Mac, both retro and current. And if you want to become a member of A.P.P.L.E, you can go to our members page, and the base level membership is just $27.95 per year. There's higher options if you want. We've also added a new donations option if you would prefer just to donate some amount rather than become a member. And members have access to all of our current magazine PDFs and all of our legacy magazines. We have third-party user group discounts too. And if you go to our magazines page, whether you're a member or not, you can actually download a copy of our 40th anniversary issue. And we've had that available for a few years, and it's still available if you'd like to see what it's like. And the magazine did go monthly sometime last year, and where it was quarterly previously, and so we have made that enhancement. If you are a member, recently we did rework all of the legacy magazines, so if you have downloaded them, you should download them again. And furthermore, we're doing a full rescan of the magazines to make them even better, and that will be coming later in the year. Besides Call-A.P.P.L.E. magazine, A.P.P.L.E. has also produced a number of other magazines over the years, like 32 Little Apples, Mac A.P.P.L.E., Mac Tech Quarterly, which is especially cool, Aptolog, the Apple Programmer Developer Association, and others, and those issues are available for members. And then for anyone who might want access to some PDFs, we do have some other related magazines that we host, like the Australian Apple Review, Open Apple and A2 Central, and others. Another one of the sites we manage is applearchives.com, which is a collection of Apple II and Mac magazines, links, manuals, resources, and probably the two best known sections of that are the Beagle Bros software repository, which has been running since 2003 and a big redesign last year, and also the Applied Engineering website, which has been online since 2008. And those are both ongoing projects. The Applied Engineering site does have a redesign coming. And we also run the MECC site, which is the largest official archive of MECC software. This is another monumental ongoing project that's had contributions from original CEOs and programmers, and that's always being updated. And we also have our store where you can buy artwork you might have seen in our books, like our cool retro cartoons, Beagle Bros, and other fun things. You can buy t-shirts, mugs, etc. available at callapple.org/store. There's some of the fun Jim Hilger art with the puppy dog and the barrel of apples. And now let's talk about the books and manuals we've produced this year. Back in February, we released the Peeking at Call-A.P.P.L.E. series, and this is for the years 1978, 1979, and 1980. These are organized into different categories with the content from the magazines of each of those years. They're related to the separate compendiums we've released before for 78 and 79. Those were complete in order magazine reprints. And again, these are organized for those 3 years to make it a more useful reference. These Peking books are enhanced scans of the originals, and some of those categories include AppleSoft and Integer Basic, color graphics, DOS, printing, and the monitor. And now we start what turned out to be a game release here. You've probably heard of Witch Trial. That's a game that was released earlier this year with artwork and story by Dan Henderson and programming by Dr. Mark A. Golombek and Roby Sherman. It's a double low-res point-and-click adventure, and you've been accused of witchcraft and have to prove your innocence. And it's really a beautiful game. Of course, the game is released, but we wanted to have a beautiful manual to go along with it. So I've been working with Dan and Mark quite a bit, and have produced a very graphical manual that has a full graphical walkthrough and also an art gallery. Now, when I first saw this game, I wanted this manual to be more like an art book, and that's how it's produced. So virtually every screen in the game is produced on premium color paper. It's a little over 50 pages, and I also redrew the map, and so there's a nice map on parchment. This is just a small sample of artwork in the game, and if you'd like a really nice overview of the game, Dan Henderson has recorded a 5-minute overview available at the Call-A.P.P.L.E.org website if you go to the Witch Trial book page. So the manual is available in both paperback and hardback, but we also contemplated making a box and original disc available for this as well. And if that sounds of interest, we're considering a limited run for that, and also for Lordlings of Yore that we released in 2018. So if the thought of owning that sounds of interest to you to go along with the manual that you would purchase, please email editor@call-apple.org, and we'll give you any updates as they arise with that production. And Ringobon, yet another game. This one is an AppleSoft basic version of the game Sokoban. This version is by Mike Beaumont and contains 90 levels. The manual has maps if you get lost, and source code, and you can also design your own levels using a word processor. There's Mike. And as you can see, the game uses mouse text, and it's also in ProDOS. And rather amusing name, Terminal Boredom by Carl Bunker. This non-traditional adventure game was written in 1986, with the main object being to keep your on-screen alter ego from falling asleep, hence Terminal Boredom. And you have to make sure that your character starts and finishes a study of AppleSoft Basic. And we have Trick, which is Contract Bridge for the Apple II, and it's a single player. It is written by Jim Hilger, who does those cool early cartoons that you've seen, like the puppy dog. And this is written in Integer Basic in 1980. And you can play a straight-up game, build a hand. There's also sample hands. And a lot of tutorials on how to play, background information. It's actually over 100 pages with history of the game in general, rules, strategy, etc. And one that's very exciting to me, and to Bill, of course, big computer games. I'm sure we've all heard of David-All and Creative Computing. This is one of the books they published in their basic computer game series in 1984. This has long been out of print. This, however, is an enhanced edition. I've completely redone the cover from scratch. All of the inside pages, 126 pages, are enhanced scans of the originals. But besides making this available in print again, the other neat thing is David-All was kind enough to write a brand new preface for it this year. So that's an additional part for it. And this book does include 12 different games in Microsoft Basic. Things like Dukedom. And as you can see, you've got the program listing there, some really neat line art, and sample runs of each game. Liza, I'm sure you've all heard of. Monster Combat. And even includes a tutorial on how to write an adventure game. And beyond the book, on our apps page, we will also have a disc available upcoming with all of the program listings. And speaking of game programming, next up is a graphics toolkit by Randy J. Roast. And this book is based on the popular graphics toolkit series of articles that appeared in Call-A.P.P.L.E magazine from 1984 to 1986. The book is over 100 pages and teaches you the art of creating graphical libraries that you can use in games and other programs, both basic and machine language. And there are many different routines that are overviewed, like high-res graphics, line drawing, graphics windows, special effects, shape drawing, animation, double buffering, and some other demos. And it is available in both paperback and hardback with an accompanying disc image, of course. And in the utility category, we have Directory Title Writer, written by A.P.P.L.E founder Val Goulding. It's a DOS 3.3 utility written in 1981 to help you create elaborate and fancy file names in your catalogs. And you can type inverse flash and lowercase directly from the keyboard. And for font fans, we have Double High. This is a double high-res text generator written by Robert Clardy and Alan Clark, originally published with very limited distribution by Synergistic Software in 1987. And the manual is about 70 pages. And you can generate texts with 46 included fonts in a variety of sizes, colors, and angles. And you can access it with your Apple II programs on the double high-res screen. And it features an editor shown here where you could even make your own character set if you wanted to. Of course, a knowledge of AppleSoft Basic to some degree is helpful. And HireText Plus. Now this might sound familiar. We released this manual and program in 2020. This is actually a re-release of it. Recently, Lulu, our book publisher, started supporting color interiors, and so we thought it would be smart to have color options on manuals that would benefit from them, and this is the first one that came to mind. It's also worth mentioning, especially in the context of Double High that we just spoke of, because the fonts between that program and HyperText Plus are actually interchangeable, so they complement each other and are both worth picking up. Twilight 2 has a new color interior with color screens from most of the screensavers featured in it. Quite beautiful. Signature GS has a color interior now, which is a collection of Apple II GS control panels like a screen blanker and sound selector, things of that nature. Six-Pack has a color interior. This is a collection of 13 Apple II GS extensions, things to compare files, hotkeys, and so forth. And the last of the re-releases is my Etch-a-Sketch and Other Fun Programs book, which is a collection of programs I wrote in school in both basic and machine language, of course featuring my exploded Etch-a-Sketch and some other utilities like and educational tools, a tunnel race game, and it also has stories and experiences and photos from my time there, so it's a bit of a personal journey. And all of these books and manuals are available at callapple.org/books. And all of the related software is available for everyone at callapple.org/apps. You can go to the book description page by clicking on the book cover, or just download the disk image by clicking on the disk. Last year, you might recall, I announced the beginning of the Penguin Software Unpublished Archives. Mark Pelzarski was kind enough to entrust me with some of his original discs a few years ago and didn't really know the content of them, and I was able to recover a lot of documentation and files. And so last year, I released the fan-based version of Transylvania and all of the unpublished pictures for the Spy's Adventures in Asia that were under development, both high-res and double high-res, available at callapple.org/penguin. And I should also mention the Graphically Speaking book, Enhanced Edition, that we published in 2019, which is Mark's graphics tutorial book. So continuing on that theme from last year, I had announced the Graphics Magician Painter version 2, which was their internal cross-platform development tool for their Comprehend adventures, supporting double high-res, which wasn't previously available, and being based in ProDOS. And that program and source code are still coming under a Creative Commons license, which is great news. Mark's been very generous that way. And both that program and the Comprehend 2 Adventure Development System were written by both Mark Pelzarski, the Penguin president, and Jeffrey J. Comprehend 2 is the authoring language they use to release games like The Coveted Mirror, The Crimson Crown, Transylvania, Otopos, and others. And this will also be available this year with the Creative Commons license. And being an adventure development system, it does support full sentence parser with graphics, obviously. And furthermore, when that's released, we will release the source code, Comprehend source code, resources for those games I mentioned, and also Talisman. But unlike those, since these games are still the original intellectual property of the authors, they will be released for educational and historical purposes only. No license, sorry. But at least you can learn a little bit more about them. And there will also be some other surprises, as if this wasn't cool enough. to go along with those, which you'll hear about another time. All available at call-apple.org/penguin. And that brings me to a logical transition of books in progress. Yes, indeed, it would be helpful to have documentation to understand how to use the Comprehend Adventure Development System and the Graphics Magician Painter and the code from all of those games we just talked about. So I've been working with Mark for many months, going through what's been recovered, the code, the intricacies, and learning some of the background of how things were developed. Beyond all of the surviving documentation, it needs to be organized and formatted and added to make it a useful reference. And since it is such a monumental project, it will be available only in print form for both Comprehend 2 and Graphics Magician Painter 2. The plan is to have it available later this year, and that's the beta cover that I've designed thus far. And in addition, to make the documentation more useful, Bill Martens and I are writing a simple Comprehend adventure that will be interspersed through the documentation to help it make more sense. It would really be great if people could use this adventure development system so that it continues in some fashion into the future. And I'll probably add some penguin art too, like I did with the Graphically Speaking, just to make it a little bit more fun. And also upcoming is one of Bill's passion projects, all about Pilot, the Pilot programming language. We announced this last year. It's 130 pages right now, but Bill decided he wanted to add even more to it, so a much bigger version will be forthcoming later this year, along with the Networks 2 BBS software and manual, and many other manuals we don't have time to talk about right now. And a big one that I think will excite a lot of people is understanding the Apple IIe Enhanced Edition, Big Enhanced Edition. This book was published originally in 1985 and was considered the definitive source for understanding all the internal hardware on the Apple IIe, how it works. This edition is produced by Gary Graham, redesigned. I've been working with Gary for a bit. He's the lead on the project. Bill and I are co-producing it. And Gary has fully retypeset this book, which was no small task. And speaking of no small tasks, there's over 100 illustrations in this book. Gary has fully recreated 20 of them, but since there is still a lot to be recreated, the plan is to publish it hopefully later this year. And these are some of the samples of what Gary has redone. It's just incredible, the patience and attention to detail he has with things like motherboard circuits, disk controllers, bus structures. Quite a beautiful design. And there's also a color interspersed with it right now. We're evaluating perhaps having a color version of the manual, of the book. It has 10 chapters and several appendices. Video generation, and a special section on care and maintenance of your Apple II, troubleshooting, and also some programming reference material. So we're really looking forward to that. No small project. Thank you, Gary. And for some fun stuff, other fun stuff, we have a giveaway we'd like to announce for KansasFest attendees, both in person and virtual. There is a book that is not yet published or released. And if you go to our KansasFest Discord channel, you can learn the details of that. And this unreleased book will be available to 3 lucky winners. And a final surprise, of course, all of our offerings book-wise are available at Call-A.P.P.L.E./books. But if you'd like to look at the offerings in a different way, we have a nice PDF catalog linked in our Discord channel and also available on our website. And if you look at that catalog, perchance you'll notice a special mystery book to purchase that may be of interest. It took many weeks to produce to make it look beautiful, and you'll just have to discover that on your own. And with that, please stay tuned and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you very much. Apple II forever. Oh, I think I see a question here in Zoom at least. Oh, there it is. Any updates on GBBS? GBBS is on our GitHub page. All of the current source code and compiled apps that are available. No new announcements with GBBS. Lane Roth had been helping us extensively. I'm just guessing, but I don't think he's had a chance to work on it recently. But if you go to call-apple.org and you go to the software Apple II menu, there will be a link to GBBS's to our GBBS GitHub right there, and that's the best I can answer for you on development of that.
There's a question in the Zoom chat. Is there a way to determine if a book has been updated since last purchase and what the update was?
Updates are rare. If there's an update like the new color editions I just created for those 5 books, I announced them just now. If you go to callapple.org/books, at the very top of the page, I've added a section that summarizes all of the releases I did today and specifically lists those new color editions. So for everything in 2022, new releases are there, and the only updates per se, with the addition of a color edition choice, are also listed there. The only other book that has been revised is the What's Where in the Apple Enhanced Edition. We fixed a few mistakes, added a couple of things, and that was released a year or 2 ago. And if you look at the technical information in Lulu, it does specify an edition number and when it was published. But as the person who does all the final output on all of these books, I'm not aware of any other books that have been revised. If you've got a question about a specific one, please tell me. But normally when a book is published, it's published and it's done because we, mostly I, spend a lot of time going over it and fixing any issues with it. So yeah, let me know offline, and I'm happy to answer anything further on that.
Okay, thanks. There's I guess there's one question in the Zoom Q&A, and maybe that's about the last we have time for. It's Petar. He says on the Networks 2 manual and software, he found about 30 floppies in his collection from a friend, and if you and Bill were interested, you could get copies of that. Is that something
Absolutely,
you're working with?
Please send that to us. We do have a copy of just the primary disc, but certainly what's on the other discs would be interesting to look at. So yes, please email me or Bill.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think we are out of time, but thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.